Hi everyone, Jacqueline here, Creating My Garden Canada, and today I want to do a video on how to bring your Christmas, your Thanksgiving, your holiday, or your Easter cactus into bloom. Basically, how we force these plants to come into bloom in time for the holidays. So this is what the cactus will look like before we bring it into bloom, and the results we're hoping to achieve after bringing it into bloom is to have a cactus that is full of buds like this. Nice and healthy and full of gorgeous buds. And we don't want just one bud. We want the cactus to be completely full of buds. Now, many gardeners love to collect and purchase these plants, me included. They have a beautiful array of colors and they are a crowd favorite, especially at Christmas. These plants are extremely versatile as a container plant or in a hanging basket. These plants can be passed down in families, which we have seen. Many families will pass these down to another member of their family, and they will live for many years if they receive the care they need. So the whole point of this video is to show you the tips and tricks on how to go from this to this and bring it into bloom so you can enjoy it whenever you want. Now, these plants will go into bloom on their own sporadically, but they're never full profuse of blooms like they are when they're forced or when you first buy them and they come from the greenhouse. Now, these cactus are unique compared to other cactuses because they need bright, indirect light and they prefer rich soil. What we like to use in these is a cactus soil. They also need more water than other succulents do, and you do not want to let them completely dry out. If they get too dry, you will lose them. The first trick is to find a room in your home that is cooler than the rest of your house because they like around 50 to 60 Fahrenheit or around 15 Celsius to stimulate them to set buds. So you need a really cool room. Otherwise, you can set your thermostat down to that temperature if you're in an area that allows that and you're still comfortable, and that will also help to stimulate the plant to form buds. The next step is to reduce how often you water the plant. So if you're watering this plant weekly, then you want to water it every 2 weeks and so on, depending on your routine. Because you want to starve it and make it think this plant is in a drought. The other thing you do is no fertilizer. Stop the fertilizer because we want this thing to feel totally deprived and feel like it's in a drought and without nutrients. That will help bring on the buds. So skip the fertilizer. Now this next trick is extremely important. This plant needs total and complete darkness to bloom. So you will need to find a room where it's good and dark, and you need to prevent any light from coming through to this plant because that will disrupt the development of the buds. So for instance, one place that is really good to provide a plant with total darkness is in a closet. And you want the closet doors to be totally sealed so no light can get through them, so nice and tight. And you want to make sure if there is a crack at the bottom that you stop that light from coming through. So we're going to open the closet doors here as an example, and I'm going to put the plant in the closet where it's not going to get any light. And I'm just going to set it over. So you can see there's no light going to be in there. We're going to close the doors completely and make sure it's sealing properly like that. It looks like there's a gap here, but there really isn't a gap here. They're nice and tight on the inside. Then what we're going to do is we want to seal off this bottom area here so no light can get in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a blanket like this That is long enough, so I'm just going to measure it out. And I'm going to roll it up into a bit of a, and I'm going to put it against the bottom so no light can come in. And block it there. A third method you could use, depending on the size of your cactus, is to use a shopping bag. Something that doesn't have any holes in it, like this one, that's really large, and you can place this over the plant. I think the shopping bag is one of my favorite options for bringing a cactus into bloom, especially these large shopping bags, because you can use them on a plant stand. You can use them on the table. I'm using it on my island. There's lots of air movement in here because of the size of it. And if you have a larger plant that has a lot of trailing segments, then this will cover it really nice without being too heavy. The next item you could use to induce total darkness for your cactus is a box. A nice big brown box. You want to make sure it is about 1 inch or 2 on each side of the box and be able to place it over and in a spot where it will not be disturbed for the hours that you need to induce the buds to form. I really like this method. This is one of my preferred methods. My other preferred method, of course, is a shopping bag because they're very versatile. But any of the methods I just mentioned will work. They're all great tips that will help give the cactus or cactuses the darkness that they need without any light coming through to the plant. During the time that you are exposing these cactuses to darkness, you want to make sure that you aren't moving it around a lot. So put it in a place where it will not be disturbed, and then you just take your box or your towel, your sheet, your bag off of it. If it's in a basement, you want to make sure that that room stays in darkness for the number of hours that are required to induce it to form buds, because if that light gets turned on in that room, that will disrupt it, and you basically might as well start over. Now, this plant needs to experience 12 to 13 hours of total darkness every single day. That is the key. If you make it a routine, and one tip I would say is if you have an iPhone or an Android phone of some type, set a timer on that phone or an alarm so that it gets those hours. That way you have it in a routine and it fits into your lifestyle. So for instance, when I get up in the morning, I will remove the box. And then at supper time, I will put the box back on to give them their 13 hours, 12 to 13 hours of darkness. I tend personally to go with 13 hours just to make sure they're getting enough. To deprive the cactus of light is in my dining room. So this is where I will put it in total darkness because I'm not using the dining room that much and I walk past it all the time. So it's easy for me to add the boxes and remove the boxes. So it's real easy just to go in here and put the box over the plant as needed. And you can see how easy that is because I'm in the same room. So I have my boxes here ready to go. I have 3 good sized boxes. Now here's another little tip I want to give you on the boxes. If you have a bigger box like this one that has holes in it, put a piece of tape across the holes. Okay, because you don't want any light getting in for your larger containers like this one. So you're going to put a piece of tape across there. So what I like to do is I just come along with painter's tape and I'll put a piece across the top and do both sides where the handles are and then come through and put a piece across the other part. And make sure that it's good and sealed there, that no light can come through. You could also go ahead and put that towel over the box too. That's another option. See, I'm just going to double layer it here just to make sure that there's no gaps. and that will also give it the darkness it needs. That is the key. No gaps for any light to come through. So now that you've been successful and your plant has buds, like this one, you're not totally home free yet. You want to make sure that this plant is in a dry, indirect light, and that you've started watering it normally. You're not going to fertilize because when they're in bud or when they're in flower, you don't fertilize. But what happens if you start finding segments, clads, that's a clad, together they're a segment, individually they're clad, or if you find it dropping buds like these? If that happens, most likely your plant has been exposed to a draft or a sudden temperature change in your home directly after it set buds. So you want to make sure it's not anywhere near any drafts, open windows, doors, etc., where people are coming and going, especially in a colder climate, because that will shock it and those buds will start falling off. And this is the last thing you want to see, because if they all fall off, you got to start over. So how long does it take for the buds to form when you're trying to force it into bloom? Well, it can take approximately 12 weeks for the plant to bloom, so you will want to time it so it is in bloom for the holidays, which means it will take approximately 20 weeks in total from the development of the buds to flower. Now, each flower will last around a week when it blooms, so around 5 to 7 days they seem to last. Do not fertilize while it's in flower or while it's in bud. Now, you may not see any growth after it's done blooming because it's kind of in a dormancy, but you can definitely start your watering and your fertilizing right away to bring it back to full health and to start that new growth. So that's it for this video. Don't forget to give me a like and a subscribe, and to share this. A thumbs up would be great. If you have any suggestions, questions, leave a comment, or if you just want to say hi, I'd love to hear from you. I realized that this is one video I had not done, is how to force these plants into blooms. And basically, overall, you're starving them and letting them think they're in a drought. That is the way you get these plants to bloom. That is the easiest way. So I hope one of these methods will work for you. Let me know how you're making out if you give this a try. And I look forward to hearing from you in the comments. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.